Great day. This is Sandler Francois, Premier Paralegal, aka your favorite divorce professional. All right. What are we going to talk about today? What if your spouse is incarcerated? What if your spouse is in jail? What if your spouse did something they shouldn't have done and now they're somewhere they don't want to be and you want to get divorced? First of all, don't be ashamed. I mean, it happens. It's life. It's real. And hopefully, if you're watching this, you're not incarcerated. They are. And that's unfortunate. And I hope whatever rehabilitation is necessary is had. But that's for another time. I want you to understand this. Getting divorced if your spouse is in jail is really no different procedurally. But I always like to include the fact that this is not formal legal advice. It should not replace the advice you should get from counsel. You should pay someone, sit down in front of them, and let them know what your concerns are if they're of legal nature. If they're procedural, you can seek out the court. If you're in need of some preparation of your divorce papers, you can seek out Premier Paralegal, or again, you can seek out competent legal professional. But today's about information, so let's have fun just talking about this, as much as we can, of course. But what if your spouse is in jail? Like I was saying, it's pretty much the same as if they weren't incarcerated, okay? And in some ways, it might be a little bit easier, all right? Because many times, my observations, people can't even find their spouse if they aren't incarcerated. And that leads to a longer and much costlier process where the courts would explain to you, it's called divorce by publication, where before you get divorced, you would have to prove that you can't find them. So in this case, you know where they are, all right? And let's say you knew they were incarcerated, but you don't know where they are. In New York State, and I'm pretty sure in other states too, but we're talking about New York State here, they have something called an inmate lookup. You can easily search it online, Google search it. And if you know some very simple information about your spouse, you can find out where they are. All right, that can sometimes just be the hardest part. After that, everything is downhill in terms of getting the paperwork done. Again, you could do the paperwork yourself. You can hire a divorce professional like Premier Paralegal, or you can pay a lot more money to an attorney and get it done with them. But nevertheless, it is pretty much downhill and should be pretty straightforward from there once you determine where your spouse is located if they're in the prison system. The prison facility makes it pretty easy for you. Very much they have gone through this process in assisting people. So they have a procedure and a series of steps that you can go about mailing it to them. They're going to give you an exact way to mail the documents to the facility, maybe directly to your spouse, or if your spouse is not going to sign and you find this out on your own, you may have to ask the facility how you can go about having your spouse served. Many times the facility will serve your spouse on your behalf. So that saves you a lot of money and using a costly process server. And it also can help get your documents, passed through the system a little bit easier. When I say the system, I mean the prison system, because an officer will be responsible for carrying the documents from point A to point B. And most facilities, from what I understand, have a notary on hand, which tends to be another pain in the you-know-what in terms of getting the documents done, because many times when you're serving papers or your spouse is signing, their signature has to be done in the presence of a notary. And from what I understand, most facilities do have notaries on hand. So keep that in mind. See how easy it can be? So with that said, that's not to state, and you would speak to your attorney about this, that your spouse cannot contest. They still have rights that they should entertain if they choose to. But from my observation, and over 20 years observation, and being involved in over 1,000 divorces and hundreds of them involving incarcerated spouses, they tend not to contest. Sometimes they have. I've seen it and I've heard of it. They contest because, they have nothing but time in their hands. Maybe they're angry. Maybe there's still issues between the two. And, sometimes they want to express their rights. And maybe they're just doing it to jam up the process and slow you down. But from what I've seen, the inevitable still stands. The divorce will be completed at some point in time. But for the most part, I've seen a lot of these divorces go through pretty swiftly, where the spouse understands they've matured and they don't want to hold you hostage because of a mistake they made that led them to being in this particular situation. For all you know, maybe it'll turn around when they get released. I have heard of couples getting back together, but for the sake of divorce, it can get done. So no need to think you have to pay a lot more money. No need to think it's going to be a big hassle. You just have to go through the process and be informed. Know where they are. If you don't know where they are, do a simple Google search for, I think you can Google the term inmate lookup, and you'll find it. Am I right? Okay, I'm being told I'm right. Inmate lookup is what you want to Google. I can't do this by myself. I need assistance, so I'm grateful. So with that said, it's pretty simple. Again, while it's unfortunate, it may be easier than you think. So that's all for today. I want you to enjoy your day, enjoy life, share this video, subscribe, include comments. I want to know what you think, good, bad, and ugly, because I want to improve, because that's the only way I can give you the best of what I've experienced and what I've learned. Until then, like I say, enjoy life. It's the only one you have.